to Maxed Out Man, helping you become the man you were made to be.
Hey guys, it's Kevin Davis from Maxed Out Man Podcast. This is episode big number 3 with my buddy Robert Bob Phillips of P&S Sales. We have known each other for quite some time, and I consider him one of my idols slash inspiration in terms of, you know, what men can look like in terms of their lives and family and business and health. And all of those. So I'm not going to give you an official bio. I'll let you kind of talk about who you are and what you do, and we'll go from there, have some fun discussion about some different things. So welcome. Thanks so much for taking the time to do it.
Thanks, Kev. You know, the feelings go both ways. Yeah, I got a ton of respect for you. I was, watching you build your, what's the thing you just got done building? Like,
we're not done. It is a small 3,400 square foot shop that has 16-foot walls on it.
Yeah.
My bride and I decided to take on. So,
yeah. So, I watched those and that was like, I'm like, yeah, no way. Can't do that. But
yeah, I'm not sure that's something to aspire to, more of a cautionary tale, perhaps, but
yeah, well, I'm sure there's always more to the story, right?
Well, we stood up that first, 16-foot walls sounds like a good idea and doesn't look that high. When we stood up that first 45-foot wall on the end, which we had to use the Jeep to do with the winch, I was like, oh my Lord, what have we done?
I do think the most impressive thing was the roof, though. That was
surreal. Right? That was insane. Yeah, I might need to drop in a video for the YouTube thing, but that was the most surreal experience I've had in terms of building, because it was 22,000 pounds, 65 feet by 45 feet. And we lifted that thing and just dropped it on the building. We built everything on the ground. I had to use stilts and all that because the ground wasn't level. But yeah, that was watching that thing fly overhead and have to do it twice because he couldn't get the crane all the way around. I was like, I know who built that. That thing's just going to explode any second.
It's not built to be picked up by a crane, right? You're thinking like, no way.
Yeah. And it didn't explode and it fit within like an inch. So, which was literally an act of God, because I'm not that good of a carpenter, and trying to get square on a roof like that, of that size, was a little bit of a challenge. So, yeah. But hey, tell me, so give me just like a brief background. I'd be just so that the people listening, which I think a lot of people listening will know who you are, but I'd love to kind of just get just your brief background on that kind of thing.
So how I got started in P&S? Yeah.
Yeah. Just like, what you do for what your job is. We'll start for vocation. You are the front man beauty of a major company in the detailing and automotive appearance business. Right?
Yeah, that's all true, but we're still a family business. My brother and I, own this business, and we've been doing it a long time, and we have a great team. We have great staff, but we still do a lot of hands-on, which I think that's who you are. That's who I am. I like to have my hands in a lot of things. But my responsibility at P&S is essentially, the sales and marketing, the branding, the forward-looking, brand of P&S. My brother Dave, he's the back end. He runs all the operations, all the manufacturing, all the filling, all that type of stuff. And then, of course, is the brains behind the formulas, right? So
yeah, because he's the chemist, right? He's like the official chemist.
He designs and builds everything. And, he's got a lot of street smarts at that. So he's been, such a huge asset to our company because he produces, some of the best products in the industry, but more from a detailer's perspective. So, it's like we use them. It's not something that we just go, oh, well, we're going to come up with this product. We've never used it. I mean, everything that we sell, we've actually used, tested, continue to use. So, I have as much a love affair with some of the products that we sell that our customers do. I mean, people always ask me, like Express Interior Cleaner and stuff like that. I mean, these are things that I use all the time. Yeah.
And you guys are like, when you talk about legacy and true family business, like your father started the business.
Absolutely. Yeah. My father started it, straight out of college. He owned a detail shop and then, added a body shop and a top and trim shop, and then started selling chemicals, and then realized that he liked the idea of a consumable product. Right.
Right.
So basically he basically divested himself of those other businesses and then started focusing on, branding and marketing and selling detailing chemicals, and officially started in 1961.
Wow. That's there's not a lot of businesses that are still around from 1961.
Yeah, well, we've been fortunate. My dad would set my brother up on a really good platform, a good foundation for business. And then, I got involved straight out of junior college and, just started, in the warehouse, right? Running a sales truck in the city of San Francisco, which I truly enjoyed. And then just started moving from there. And then my brother and I, we actually got out of the manufacturing business for a while. And it wasn't until 1990 that we actually got back into the manufacturing business. And my brother and I wrote a business plan, presented it to my dad and said, hey, we need to build this, then a new facility that you visited in Hayward. And so we opened that in February of 1990. So that was a really good platform to, stand on and then build a business from.
Right. And what's it? So, I know Dave also. And he is, I wouldn't say exact opposite of you, but you guys are quite different, it seems, on the surface. He's a really funny guy, which is he's just a really funny guy. Are you
saying I'm not funny? I mean, come on.
No, I just you don't kind of expect, okay, this is like this chemist dude, that right. kind of develops all these formulas and all that. So it's what's it like? Because I do some real estate. And I just did a project with my brother. My brother's older than me. He's about 13 years older than I am. And it didn't go poorly, but it didn't go great. So, right. And Dan, if you ever listen to this, which I don't expect you will, but yeah, I appreciate how it turned out towards the end, but he and I are definitely quite different in the way that we kind of explore things and do things. And so I'm interested because we're talking, this whole thing is to talk about relationships and family and right. What it's like to be a man and, all of that stuff. So I'm interested in that dynamic of, what challenges you guys have faced, how you dealt with them, I'm assuming, you're in business together and it's a multi-million-dollar business. So you guys do, there's a lot going on all the time. So,
yeah. I truly enjoy, I really do truly enjoy working with my brother. We always have. When we lived together, when we wrote the business plan,
wow,
to present to our dad, and it was literally sitting around on a Friday or Saturday night, we go, okay, if we're going to stay in this business, we need to go into the manufacturing business. We got to take this seriously. And at that point, Kev, I was, a 26, 27-year-old kid that, didn't have any money, just like everybody at that age. You're just starting out. And, my brother and I just decided to put together a business plan because we both worked for my dad, and we put that together. And then he allowed us to build this facility, basically. And really, when I look back on it, we had no clue. we had never, my brother had manufactured things because of his chemistry background and stuff like that. And he'd worked with our with our previous manufacturer on formulating, but we had never built a manufacturing plant. We had no idea what we were doing. And, my dad had all the confidence in us, and collectively as a family, my dad, my brother, and myself, we got together, designed it, and built it. And, it wasn't without some missteps, or now we look back and go, we wish we would have done certain things, but we hit the mark. It really has served us well. We're still manufacturing in the same similar equipment, since 1990. And our volumes changed a little bit since then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, but working with my brother's great. It's not, we definitely get in some serious, discussions, and, we have some differences, and we do share, we do have frustrations. But I think one of the things that our dad taught us that was really important is work is work, family's family. And so, because we work together all the time, and we'd have family dinners, and we would talk about work, but it wasn't like, if there was an argument or something like that, it never left the business. It never went home. If we talked work at home, it was all the good stuff. We never, you have to learn to compartmentalize that. It's, it's kind of like, I know you work with Michelle a lot, right? You guys work together on a lot of stuff. You can't keep score.
Right.
And my brother and I don't keep score because there are times that I'm working, 26 days straight, and he's off in Auckland, New Zealand right now on vacation, right?
Oh, nice.
Awesome. But so you can't keep score. And so I think that's the most important thing, because as soon as it kind of reminds me of people say, do you have a contract with somebody? Hey, Kev, if you and I have an agreement and it's based on a contract and I pull out the contract and I start looking at the fine print in the contract, guess what? The relationship's over.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, we really enjoy working together. We complement each other well because we are definitely, different personalities. He has, a huge technical background. I'm okay on technical, but I'm the graphics guy. I'm the vision guy. Right. So he doesn't have that. I have that. So.
And was that compartmentalization something that you guys set out for and said, okay, here's how it's going to be. Let's define this up front. Or it's just obviously you guys, how much older? He's a little older than you, right?
He's 5 years older. Yeah.
So when you guys were growing up, was that kind of the dynamic and of how you grew up together as brothers? I mean, obviously, brothers kind of can beat the crap out of each other, and that's how you settle some of the the disagreements and all that. But I'm curious how that got shaped.
I think the respect started really in our early years. Of course, we were typical brothers. We had our disagreements and stuff like that. But one of the things my dad also focused on is family vacations were really important. So we were constantly together as kids, on family trips. And, doing stuff together. And, when you're 11 and, your brother's 16, that's a big difference, right?
Yeah.
So that was probably the weirdest time. But once I got to be about 16 or 17, and then he was 21 and 22, of course, I thought he was, the coolest guy because he was 21 and 22, right?
Right.
And I was 16. So, but we always got along. But I think it just started organically when we were younger because we spent a lot of time together.
That's great. Yeah. Your dad, doing those family vacations, and you, from what I see from the outside, because we're friends, you do that. You've done that thing with your family as well.
Yeah. I mean, you have great kids. I have great kids. You got a great wife. I got a great wife. I mean, to me, my favorite vacation is the family vacation. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite holidays that we do now is tradition. We rent a house for Thanksgiving. And all, our family come. We don't have a huge family. Dave and his wife come, and their kids, and my wife Yvette and our kids, and then some other family members. But still, my kids. I always make a joke. My kids could be in Alaska, and if I said I was pulling out the boat or going on a family vacation, they would be there in as quick as possible. It wouldn't matter, right? They're just going to be there because we love being together.
Yeah, and you have 2 daughters.
2 daughters. Yeah.
And they're not married. They are married. Not
married. They both reside in San Diego. However, one just relocated to Colorado. And then my youngest is graduating this May, and she's going to be a wrangler in Wyoming.
Really interesting. Yeah. She's not that far from me, so she's. I know. So the official cowgirl, huh? Right.
Well, our kids, the first thing my wife and I bought was a horse. And so I quickly got indoctrinated into the equestrian side of life. And then so my kids were, 3-day eventers in terms of pony club, right? And so riding was always a thing. And my youngest, she's a horse whisperer. She can communicate with animals. And so that's not her major, obviously, but she says, "Hey, Dad, I got this opportunity to go, be a wrangler in Wyoming. What do you think I should do?" I go, "Hey, you got to do it now, right?"
Yeah.
Go do it now.
Working on an actual working cattle ranch, horse ranch?
Obviously, I haven't been there yet, but there's 130 horses on the ranch.
Wow.
And it's big. It's where people go. It's kind of like a dude ranch kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
So she's going to be one of the handlers. Yeah.
Does she get to break horses or anything like that? That's interesting.
That's what's cool. Just down in San Diego, she met a guy who had some green horses, and she broke them.
Wow. Yeah. That's a very, obviously I live in cattle country. I grew up
Right.
and my uncle raised cattle. My dad was a farmer. So I've spent a lot of time around horses and cows. I always tell vegetarians they need to spend some time with a cow and then they'll realize why we eat them. But, but yeah, breaking horses is its own, because horses are like 1,500-pound dogs. I mean, except for before they're broken, even though they're a prey animal, they don't want to be told what to do up front. So you have to get that trust and security and all of that.
Yeah. My daughter, Viva, her name's Olivia, but we call her Viva. My wife and I were just down in San Diego this past year, and she brought us up to the ranch where she, works with these horses. And these are big, warm bloods, 17 hand, big dogs, right? Yeah. And, God, she just, she would go out there and, do whatever she does, make a little sound. And then she'd turn around, that horse be right following her right back to the paddock. She's got a good knack at that. Yeah. Not everybody has it, but she has it.
No, you have to have a demeanor, just like there are some people that dogs just hate. And there are some people that just have a demeanor or an energy or whatever you want to call it that horses they're afraid of. They're for whatever reason it kicks in that prey instinct that they have to where they're like, no, I think I'll just go over here. I'm not.
Yeah, she was around the barn. Guy. So her older sister, Lexi's 6 years older than her. So when Lexi was competing, Viva, she was the groomsman. She was the person just around the barn, hanging with the horses. I swear she just sat there and watched all those animals and picked all that shit up. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
And is she one of those? She probably likes horses better than she likes people, or?
I mean, she definitely has a strong love for animals, but yeah.
Well, that's cool. Like, did they have that opportunity? I mean, obviously you've been an entrepreneur and self-employed for a long time, so you're able to give your kids. I always called it the entrepreneurial approach to parenting, right? Like my oldest, and this is they've learned not to ask for stuff, but this is what we did for her. She was like, hey, I'd love to go learn Portuguese in Brazil. And so literally like 2 weeks later, she was on a plane on her way to Brazil to go stay with one of our friends that happened to be, that lives there. And so she spent some time in Brazil. My youngest spent 6 months in Costa Rica at an immersion school for Spanish. And so, just having that like say yes to life kind of mentality, is it something that you were able to do for them as they were growing up too? Is that, because not every kid is like, hey, I think I'll move to Wyoming and go work on this ranch,
Yeah, I think the thing is you kind of know you're successful with your kids when they're willing to kind of try everything and, embrace things. And, part of that is just presenting opportunities, for them. But one of the things I love, and I think your kids are the same, is, my kids are workers.
Yeah.
Right. Like one of the things I love is like when my daughter was in high school, the one we're talking about now, Viva, when she was in high school, Orange Theory Fitness opened near us. And I knew somebody who knew the owner, and my daughter was going to go down and apply. And I talked to my friend that knew the owner and said, they need to hire my daughter because she's a worker, right?
Yeah.
Like she's going to do good, because I know they didn't want a high school kid working there. I go, no, you don't know my daughter. She's going to be great. And then we were at one of their, events, and the owner came up to me and said, I got to tell you, best hire ever. Right.
That's great.
So to me, I love it. I'm proud that my kids are workers and that they're self-driven, and, they're willing to try, different things. I think that's huge.
Yeah. And I think you're in your kids are mine are 25 and 23 right now. They're about 15 months apart, but so our kids are fairly similar.
27, 21. Yep.
Yeah. So it's, this time in life seems to be one of the more fun times that I've had. I mean, our girls, and not everybody's like this, but our girls kind of their heads started spinning around when they were 14, and we, debated which one would keep from murdering them this week when they were 13, 14. But now in this adult, I love it. I love our adult relationship. I think that part of our relationship is a lot lot of fun. So I don't know if you're experiencing that.
Yeah,
same
I think
thing.
the hardest thing is parenting. Is I'll never forget when my oldest turned 15 in high school. One of the things that we didn't do is like when our kids were in elementary school, they were not allowed to have a cell phone.
Yep.
We just didn't like the drama associated with the texting and the whole thing. And I know that that's, difficult to manage, but that was something that we were kind of old school on. But once my daughter, got to high school, obviously now she was 15 years old, she started to flex her muscles a little bit. And really my wife, Yvette, and my daughter, kind of started to spar a little bit.
Yeah. I think that mom-daughter dynamic it's a lot harder.
And I basically said, hey, I said to my wife, I said, you know what? Hey, we've done our job. She's 15 now. She's not an adult, but we can't tell her what to do. So we have to you got to have faith. And so we used a yes mentality.
Yeah.
Except we said no to two things: no sleepovers, and you had to be home by 11:30.
Yeah.
So my daughter would ask, could I do this? And I said, sure. You got to be home by 11:30. She'd be like, Dad, I said yes. You just got to be home by 11:30. Right. And then, the sleepovers were just notoriously, that's where every kid decided that they were going to go,
oh yeah,
have way too much fun. So
yeah, absolutely. There's nothing good that happens after, and that's the 11:30, right? Yeah. All the bad stuff happens after midnight. So you got to get them home. Yes
to everything. Yeah. And the fighting stopped. And so it worked for us. It was a pretty good strategy.
Now, do they look back now? Because my kids now, I mean, we talk about, and I want to talk about marriage and stuff too, but our kids now talk about like the things that they got to do when they were younger. And we pulled them out of school for 100 days and did a 34 state RV trip when they were in 5th and 6th grade, and toured the United States. But like different activities, do your daughters go back and say, now, man, I'm really glad that you guys did it that way, and this is the things that I can carry on? Or maybe you haven't gotten that feedback, so it's hard to get feedback like that.
I think if I was to answer that question for my daughters, I know one of the things is life in the boat.
Yeah.
So we spent summers in the boat and up at the lake, on the water. I think one of the things about water sports in general, it's a great sport for everybody. Mm-hmm. Because, like if you're an advanced snow skier, which, I've skied my whole life. My parents, their honeymoon was snow skiing. So I learned to ski when I was 4 or 5. I learned to water ski when I was 4 or 5, right around, as soon as you could do those things, that's when we learned. Right. And so snow skiing is a fantastic sport, but the reality of it is it kind of divides the team.
Right.
Because if you're an advanced skier, you'll hang with the intermediates or the beginners for a while, but at some point you're going to go, you see that mountain over there? I kind of want to go do that, right? It's like the conditions are great, and all of a sudden now you leave your pack, right?
Right.
So the beauty of a water sport is you can have the greatest water skier in the world in the boat, and you can have someone who's never skied before, and you can introduce them to the sport, and everybody can have fun. And so it doesn't divide the group. So the family can stay together from the beginning to end. And also, besides the cost of a boat, right, it's a pretty economical sport.
Right. Gas and boat, right? That's not, yeah.
Dude, I was just back in Colorado. I mean, lift tickets are $275 a piece.
Are they really? We don't.
Walk up.
Yeah. I mean, what's funny is there are like 4 resorts, within a half hour or 45 minutes of my house, and I don't ski. I've been, and they're probably time.
150, but most of the resorts, that say people, want to go to, they're $200, $250. You got a family of 4.
Yeah. Man. That's nuts for one day. That's worse than Disney. Everybody complains about Disney price.
Can you imagine having your kids there at age 12 or 13, right? They're past the kid age. They're in the adult age because that's what they charge. So you're paying full boat on a ticket. You rent them gear, and then they go out and they go, Dad, it's not that fun today. I'm going to stop. And you're like, hell no.
You get back on that lift.
Out there. You're still until 4 o'clock, right? I mean,
oh, that's funny. Yeah, that's I grew up in a boating culture. I grew up in Oklahoma, so it's a little bit different than where you guys go because everything's red, right? Like you couldn't wear light colored swim trunks in Oklahoma.
Yeah, because
they're all man-made lakes that have clay, so everything gets stained red. But that and I think that becomes It's like camping. It's like, this is what we do as a family. Like, this is our thing.
Yeah.
And boating is kind of like that, because that's just like, get the boat, we're going Saturday morning or Friday night, or however you do it. But
I mean, if you're doing it and we say, oh, we're going, every kid knows what to do, or what everybody knows what to do. Everybody plays a role in that, and and now my kids, I mean, just put them in a boat, it's their happiest day. I mean, it just I mean, and I truly enjoy that. And I grew up doing that. Our parents used to do water ski shows when I was a kid.
Yeah, because you have Babe's brand, right? Like your dad, your dad had a whole. Oh, really? That's so cool. Yeah. So you had, I mean, that's good, because your dad could have written off everything, all the boating stuff is a write-off. That's a little earlier, but
Babe's didn't come around until my dad was no longer involved. But yeah, sorry, phone's ringing here.
All good.
Yep. Anyway.
No, so you guys do, you're in San Francisco, but you do all freshwater boating, right? You're not you're not out on the ocean and all that.
So no, in terms of boating, we're freshwater. My dad did a small stint in the sailboat business when I was like age 13 to about 17, which was actually a ball, man. Kevin, he was importing yachts from Taiwan. Wow. And then we would go over and get them ready and then sea trial them in San Francisco Bay. I mean, it was like the best as a kid.
When you're 13, 14, that's a cool. What'd you do this weekend? So
because we grew up small boat sailing and racing. So we knew that. But then, to be big boat, we call big boat, not 100 foot, 30 to 50 foot.
That's still a big boat.
Sailboat, powerboat. Thing. I got taught that as a young age. And to this day, one of my favorite trips we did when I was 15, we sailed out of Long Beach down into Mexico, back up to, Catalina, and did San Diego and Huntington Beach and all that stuff. I mean, it was like, to me, coming in from the ocean on a boat to any place, that's like the best thing that could ever happen. Right.
Yeah. Cause there's a small percentage of people that get to see that. Right. Yeah.
Right. And, that was one of my totally favorite vacations, was just being on the boat. Still is today. We did a family trip this summer where we just, rented a catamaran and just, sailed around. It's still my favorite thing to do.
And where do you go? Where did you go on that? You go up and down the coast, or?
We go to the tropics. We don't sail out of San. Yeah.
I think I'm cold. I think I was colder. Here. I think I came there in the wintertime, and I think I was colder there than I am here when it's.
Yeah. So no, we go to the tropics to sail. So we were in the Caribbean this time. Yeah.
Nice. That's really cool. Yeah. You guys, we did jet boats and that kind of stuff, which jet boats sound like a good idea. We had this super fast jet boat it had a 455 Ford or something in it that had a carb on it, which was literally, we spent an hour tuning that thing every time we took it out. It's just, those
were the things. That was but I know you're younger than me, but
not by much though.
Those boats that was it, man. If you were the badass dude, that's the boat you had.
And you had the little Barefoot throttle pedal. Yeah. So if you didn't have one of those, you were totally cool.
You'd start, there was no transmission.
No,
you started up. It was automatically in gear. So you pull up the dock, you crank it a couple of times, boom, turn it off, and then coast in and get up on the bow with a paddle and paddle it in. Those boats were scary as shit, man. They were.
I know. I've skied behind one. I learned how to ski behind that thing, which is ridiculous.
We used to do this race up at Lake Berryessa, where it was a relay race around the lake, and then when I was like 17 or 18, some guy suckered me into doing it. And, we were out speed skiing behind the boat and like 2 to 3 foot waves at 70 miles an hour. It was insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that you survived.
We bounce well.
We sunk my buddy's boat. He had this little like 17 or 19 foot boat, and decided that we would pull 2 skiers behind it. And one of the guys was slalom, and he took a really hard cut. And his inertia and weight, he was like 225. His inertia and weight, literally, the boat went woo, and went to the bottom. We used the tow rope to pull the thing back out of the water.
Yeah,
we're so dumb as teenagers. I can't believe we didn't leave.
When you're in the boat as a kid, you just want to push the envelope. And for us, it was all about barefoot water skiing. That was the big deal, because if you could barefoot, you were it. And so we learned when we were 10, 11. And then we just, that was like the badge of honor, man. You go out there and just ride as long as you could ride or do any stupid stuff, And so,
I've never tried Barefoot. What's the secret? Like how
it is so much technique. Of course, when we learned, it was all, power. We didn't have any skill, right? We just get behind the boat. We'd be standing on a water ski with no bindings. And then you get up to 35, 36, 38 miles an hour. You take one foot off, put it in the water. You kind of balance, rock on that one foot, lift the other foot up, and then you'd be riding right behind the boat. And so
it's just physics.
Just like, and we would just crash and burn, because we didn't know any better.
Yeah.
But now that, I'm older and much wiser, right? There is massive technique and massive skill. And it's so much.
Because if you're on skis and lean forward a little bit, you got 2 feet of ski to keep you. If you lean forward and you get your toe in the water, you're in trouble at 35.
Yeah. So it's really about gliding. So anyway, it's a skill. You should come. I'll teach you how.
Oh my Lord!
Literally, I guarantee you, I could teach you to barefoot in a half hour.
I may take you up on it. That would be a lot of fun.
They have the boom now. You got all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
There's equipment. Right.
Do you remember a guy named Banana George Blair?
Of course. I know Banana George. I knew him.
Did you know him?
Yeah. Well, I met him at trade shows, right? He was the man. Right?
Yeah. So I worked at the Cooper Clinic in Dallas. Kenneth Cooper, the guy that invented aerobic exercise, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But my degree is in exercise physiology, one of them. And so then that was like a glam job. You went down to work at the Cooper Clinic. You're making like at that time, probably $5 an hour or $6 an hour, but it was the job, very clinical. He came in. So what they did there is they would do a complete full physical. It included, nutrition and colonoscopies and all this other crap. Like it was crazy. He came in to the clinic. So I got to hang out with him for most of a day. And at that time, he was in his late 80s at the time.
Oh yeah.
And he was the coolest. If you're listening to this, go look up Banana George Blair, because how old was he while he was still skiing?
Honestly, I don't know that he ever stopped barefooting. He probably passed away.
Yeah. So he was in his 80s and I don't know if he made it to 90, but if he did, he was probably still out on the water.
The thing is, if you have proper technique, right, and you're in the right situation, the water's smooth, it's really not a power event. It's all skill. So,
but that to me represents. So I've got a good friend of mine who happens to be my neighbor is 91 years old, and I'm going to have him come do the podcast later this week because I want to talk to him about life. Like I'll be outside working on my shop, doing the roof or whatever, and I hear chainsaws running and all that. Well, he's out there cutting his own firewood, chainsaw, throwing it in his tractor, running around like in that whole idea of, live until you die kind of a thing.
Use it or lose it, man.
I know a lot. There are people in my life that are just like, yeah, well, we're old now and this is just our lot. And I'm like, so basically you're sitting around waiting to die. Like what's the point?
I think as you get older, right, things don't get easier. They get harder, right? For physical fitness. But
yeah,
I know you're still training hard. I still train hard. I to me, it's about not being strong or powerful. It's about being able to do the things that you like to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
That's it. And I do believe that there's huge element is use it or lose it. Once you stop doing something, change your technique, be smarter about it, but don't just stop. There are things that, we don't do now but you still need to, exercise. You still need to pay attention to stuff. You can't just go, oh, I'm retired now, I'm going to do nothing.
Yeah. Or I'm 55 or 60 or 65, whatever. It's like now that I just don't do that anymore.
So when I was growing up in this business, the first 10 years we're running a route truck in the city of San Francisco. And I had some old time detailers. They were probably younger than I am now, but they were the guys detailing, but and these guys were hustling at the car dealership. And I remember there was a guy that I called on and he retired, but this guy was Johnny Hustle, man. He could do anything. Kev, he retired. He died in 3 years.
Oh,
because you just stopped doing stuff, right? And so I don't know. You can't stop. I think the reason your 91-year-old friend that's around the corner, because he is still doing that stuff.
Yeah,
that's why he's still, getting after it.
Yeah, he goes out hunting by himself, which I wouldn't recommend. But like he's dragging elk out of the they cut him up. But yeah, he'll still go hunting and doing all his stuff. So I think
that it's I have some not. Most of my friends are active, but I do have some friends that are, they're like, well, yeah, I don't do that anymore. And I'm like,
why not?
Well, if it was dangerous, I get it. But if you're just smarter now, but I don't hike anymore, or I don't, you got to do all that stuff.
Yeah. So what do you do? First of all, I've decided that I have to stay fit because I do too many stupid things. So perfect example. And Michelle was right there and she told me not to, and I did it anyway. I was trying to get a piece of siding up and I was balancing a ladder on something that was not stable. And literally the ladder fell and I happened to be near where we've got a big hole dug. And I fell and my leg wrapped up inside the little 6-foot ladder. So my femur bent the ladder.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's why I do squats. That's why I work out. It's because I'm an idiot. So the only way I can keep from dying is to stay active. So, but what do you do? So what do you do on a daily basis in terms of like your activity?
I'm not a crazy fitness person. Like some people, I got to go to the gym or I got to do this. Like, I make sure it fits my lifestyle. Right. Yeah. Like if we got something going on and I don't go to the gym, there are some people like, if they have something going on and they didn't go to the gym that day, it like ruins their day. Right.
Yeah.
I'm not that guy. I go when it fits. My most recent thing is a gym called F45.
Oh, that's Wahlberg's investment.
Yeah. And to me, I love it. Right. It's a group exercise routine that's kind of a little bit CrossFit, not CrossFit. You use weights, you do power, you have cardio. It's functional fitness is what it is. So you do all the stuff that you would normally do, but you add weights to them, you add speed to them, you add power to them. And I've been doing that the last year, actually, coming up. Yeah, right now it's a year. I've been doing it a year.
And has your fitness level changed from when you were doing, more traditional, hit the weight room, go for a bike ride, all that stuff?
I don't know. I don't know necessarily that it has. I can tell you this. The reason I joined this gym is because, the pandemic was happening and I wasn't going to the gym and I was just I kind of lost my way. Everybody can do it, right? I literally lost my way and I went like, all right, I got to find something to do. Yeah. So I joined this gym and the owner, her name's Amy Jampolis. She got right in my face and got me all fired up. And, saw that, recognized that I was an athlete. And she goes, oh, good to have you here. Okay, now let's have some fun. And so I just enjoy going. Yeah. And it's 45 minutes, man, Kev. In 45 minutes.
Yeah. I think I'm too lazy for that kind of stuff. Like, I go in and lift I try to lift heavy and all that stuff, but I've never been one as a group because I'm kind of lazy. Like I
will say though, there are definitely like, we just did this thing where we had like, it was not a competition, but there was like, somebody does 30 seconds, you do 30 seconds, but it's a team thing, right? You're going back and forth. She paired me with a 31-year-old guy that was like, I'm like, where did that? I mean, his goal was to break shit. Yeah. Right. And so, my goal was to keep up with him breaking shit. And, I'm a little bit older than 31. So, man, it was humbling, but I don't know. I get fired up on that stuff. I still love it. You've been an athlete, you've done fitness related stuff your whole life, right? It became your way of life. Exactly. And I think it's actually more important when you get older. For me, most important thing though, is mental stability. Yeah. Honestly, you work hard, I work hard, people may look at our businesses and go, there's no stress. I'm like, are you kidding? Yeah. There's a lot of stress. There's a shit ton of stress. So to me, the working out really, makes life a lot easier. I'm happier. Yeah.
I have kind of this morning routine where I do basic cardio, my cold plunge, sauna, all these different things, but that's how I start my day. So like if something happens and I don't do those things in the morning, I feel like I'm walking around with no pants on, right. And so it's just a bizarre. So like so let's say that you're early 30s, you don't really work out. What would you tell guys about, how do you get your ass off the couch and do stuff?
I always use this thing. Smoking, is always, you see people that smoke in their 20s, can't really tell they smoke, right?
Yeah.
You see people in their 30s, you kind of tell. 40s, 50s, you're like, wow, that's a smoker, right?
Yeah.
So I think fitness is similar. You see people in their 20s and 30s that don't work out, unless they really eat a ton, they're not paying attention. They look like they have their stuff together. It gets much harder when you're 40s and 50s and 60s to catch up.
Yeah.
And so, I just think everything in moderation, and fitness is the same thing. Just be active, because I'll tell you what, when you're in your 50s, turning the switch on, what in your 30s took 30 to 60 days to do, when you're in your 50s is going to take a year.
Yeah.
To flip it, right?
Right. But that doesn't mean not do it, right? I think that's the excuse that so many people use is, well, I'm in my 40s, I'm 50 pounds overweight, I don't really move. That it's like, just get up and go do something.
You've seen it. I've seen it. Orange Theory Fitness is a gym that is really, popular with people because it has cardio and weights and stuff like that. And I've used to work out there, and I would see a lot of people that would join that gym, and I'd see them 2 years after they joined that gym. And I'm like, wow, look at you. Right.
Yeah.
And their mental outlook, everything's different. I mean, fitness is it's really important. And the people that don't see it, I mean, I see people in our industry, we're not going to call anybody out, but I see people in our industry go, gosh, if you guys just did a little fitness or took care of yourself a little bit, you'd be much happier.
Which is fairly common. And it's interesting because it seems like that you see that more than you would expect in industries and jobs that are very physical. Because, I mean, you try to detail cars, 30, 40 hours a week, like it'll kick your ass. But then it's always hard for me to reconcile, this person is quite overweight or out of shape or smokes, or I'm like, how do you do this job without I just think how much more comfortable they would be if they were, a little fit. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I think a lot of people think it has to be a crazy switch, right?
Yeah.
Like I see too many people. You see it, Kev. You've been in fitness your entire life. You see people that aren't doing fitness. They go, okay, I'm going to run 5 miles every day for the next 30 days. I go, dude, you're going to break in like 5.
Yeah.
Because you can't handle it. You got to do everything in moderation. And, it's not all or nothing.
Well, and I've been in the fitness industry long enough to see pretty much everything is like, hey, do this and you can undo the last 25 years of the stuff that you've done. Like, and I get that way. I'm like, dude, I've been cutting because right now I'm in this like body fat cut program that I've been doing, and I'm in like week 10, and I'm like, why am I not there where I want to be? And like, I realized, well, because you didn't do exactly what you were supposed to do for the last 6 months, or whatever, or 6 years or, whatever.
Most people think it's the power play. I mean, think about this. You're on the bench, right? And it's all about power, and that's fun, right? Lifting weights, it's good. But realistically, then Kev, you go to yoga.
Yeah.
Right? Oh. And you try and do yoga and you're like, I don't want to do yoga because it embarrasses me because I can't do any of the stuff that they do, right? So it doesn't have to be the power. And I was just reading an article. There's a big thing in the fitness industry right now. Cardio machines are going away. Dumbbell racks are coming in. Squat racks are coming in. I mean, there's a big shift because it used to be all cardio. Now it's all power.
Right.
And that's great. But, not everybody's a power player.
No.
And when I struggle, and my wife will back me up on this, there was like 10 years ago where I wasn't struggling with fitness, but I was just like, my back was bothering me. I would do yoga once a week. It cured my back.
The Pilates and yoga and all that stuff and stretching, I hate all that crap because I'm just a dude about it, which is
and you'll laugh about this because you'll get on the squat rack, right? And you'll do squats, right? Okay, Kev, I'm going to give you an exercise. Hold your hands straight up in the air, stand up, and do a squat with your hands straight over your head.
Oh, prisoner squats. I love prisoner squats.
It's like, dude, it's like you're like, oh my God, I feel like I got 1,000 pounds on my back.
Yeah.
That's because you have to use your whole body to make it work.
Yeah, I did this whole review. Yeah, man, that's the prisoner squat, and then do prisoner lunges or any of that kind of stuff. I did this whole series of reviews on the P90X, this P90X system, and part of it is yoga. And this like power yoga thing. And I said, you have not lived until you've seen, in this time I was early 40s, a 40-year-old dude doing yoga in his basement. Like that's no one really wants to ever see that.
You know what I miss about P90X is being able to do all those pull-ups.
Yeah.
God, we're there. Like, I remember when I started P90X, I go, I can do this. I went down there and they're like, into my basement, I got my pull-up bar. I got everything set up. And I'm like, okay, we're going to do nothing but pull-ups. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like,
Tony Horton is a beast, man.
Dude. So, and what were these pull-ups, Kevin? You go like this and you go, and your legs like this. Well, I can't even remember. I remember I used to be able to do them. I'm like, yeah, not anymore.
No, those guys that can do that stuff, first of all, your core strength is amazing. But I don't know if you saw, but I blew my bicep out last summer. And after talking to a whole bunch of people and doing a whole bunch of medical research, I didn't get it fixed. So I actually have, this bicep, all I have is the brachialis, which is the big muscle. And so trying to do pull-ups now, I can still do them, but I have to do them overhand. So that's like been the biggest disappointment of not having a bicep in my left arm, is to not be able to do.
Well, these
pull-ups.
are harder anyway.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, those are more lats.
These are the hard ones. These are the
chin-ups are definitely a lot easier. But yeah, the vanity part of working out is funny, because typically the guys, they will make a lot more progress if they take the vanity part out.
Well, that's one thing I love about, group exercise. I learned long ago, and you probably learned long ago, when you show up to a group exercise class and there's 30 or 40 people in there, and, it's a wide range of people, and you're the new guy, right? And you think you're the badass. Do not pick up the big weights.
No, because you're going to have to lift them 25 times.
You're going to look like a fool pretty damn quick because you think you're strong. And, so I always go over and go, I pick up the little weights. I'll start with the little weights and I'll figure this out, and then I'll move up. Otherwise, I'm going to look like an idiot.
Yeah. I mean, I consider myself fairly strong, but like if I can't get the form right, I go low weight. That's just like, because, and if you talk to like these huge bodybuilders, Jay Cutler and Kai Green and Arnold and all those guys, they will tell you, we don't care about weight. Like we're sculpting the muscle. Like we know how to build muscle, and sometimes it takes a little 5-pound dumbbell to do it. And so that's,
it's the silliest, exercises that crush you, that make you sweat, right? Like the core exercise. You tell people, we're going to do, 4 rounds of 1 minute plank.
Yeah.
And, the average person, that's easy. I'll do it. They do one. Yeah. They get to the second round. They're like, oh my God, my core is now crumbled. I get to the third round and I'm like, I'm laying on my belly. I can't do it. Right?
Yeah.
And they're dripping sweat. They're like, this was only 4 minutes of exercise. I'm like, yeah, but you have to use your whole body to do it.
Yeah. The planks are one of those. Somebody sent me, we have dachshunds. So someone sent me things like people complaining about having to do a plank, and they show the dachshund whose legs are like super far apart. But yeah, I do planks. I do, you ever do the vacuums? I don't know if they, so like vacuum, basically suck your abs in and hold it for like 20 or 30 seconds. Try those. That seriously builds your core. But yeah, planks are rough. But yeah, it's definitely the ego has to be taken out of it, or else you get hurt and all that. Or you have like the high school kind of mentality where, I'm trying to encourage guys that are not currently doing anything to do a little bit more. Let's just do something. That's
it. That's the success. Yeah.
And to build up and, stop, because it's incremental, like just like it's incremental the other way, one or two cookies a day over the course of a year is like 22 pounds of fat.
They don't understand.
2 Oreos.
because I just you talk about your cut thing. So I just started 2 weeks ago, meal prep and all this stuff. And one of the things is if you've been fit your whole life, right, you know what you need to do.
Yeah.
You know when you're cheating, right? You know. And so it was like a week and a half ago. I'm like, all right, okay, I got to start, I got to get back to where I want to be, right? So it's all meal prep and eating right. And you quickly, within the first 2 or 3 days, your habits just become these big glaring problems because you're like, oh, normally I would go have a donut now, or normally I would go do this. You're like, yeah, I can't do that now, right? Yeah. But I'll tell you what.
Scoop of peanut butter that's 350 calories. If you ever look at an actual serving of peanut butter, it will change your life and not for the better.
But I do have to say, is one of the things that is like when you eat right, your body loves it.
Yeah. Well, we always say shit in, shit out, right? Like
it's a shock initially. The fourth, like I got to day 6, I went to do this amazing workout and I practically just freaking died because I was day 6, right? So my body was adjusting. But then once you get past that, man, you sleep better. Everything's better.
Yeah, we talked about it, Michelle, because Michelle and we've kind of gone up and down, and we do like you, which is you kind of get to a point where, all right, I need to re-engage, and then I can be a little bit slack off and all those vacations and stuff. But I always talk about when we're on vacation, for example, and you kind of do that whole free for all a little bit, if you're like us, and you try not to, but you do a little bit. I'm like, how do people eat and live like this every day for decades? Like, I just assume that they don't really know what it feels like to have good fuel, be active, sleep okay. All like, I assume that's the deal. They don't know any better.
I would think so, Kev. I think for a lot of people, it seems like such a hard goal, but once you get past, the initial shock of it, your body thrives on it. It becomes much easier. But it must be hard because we do fall off the wagon, right?
Yeah.
So there is something to that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean,
well, and everything in moderation, right? Like you still have to have a life, and it's trying to build something sustainable.
I'm not trying to be a bodybuilder or cut weight for a fight or anything stupid like that. That's just I just do it for physical and mental health, really.
Yeah, I decided to do it primarily. Part of it is just marketing for this thing that I'm doing with Maxed Out Man, but part of it is just like I want to see if I can do this at 50. Because I haven't been this lean as I am right now since I was probably in my 20s.
Right.
And I've sustained pretty good leanness, but I'm finally I'm at 7-point-something% body fat, which I haven't been in a really long time.
Well, then people have to understand too that, and a lot of people don't, it's hard to stay there.
Oh yeah. That's the thing.
And it's actually in a lot of, it's not healthy to stay there.
No.
Right. Yeah. So it's okay to, do these things. And then some people have that body type, right? I don't have that body type. I've never been, you see those guys, it's like they eat everything and they're just like, there's no body fat on them.
Yeah.
There are people like that.
Yeah.
But then there's pretty much everybody else.
Yeah. They're very small, minute, but yeah. And exactly. That's what people don't understand. The things that you see in the magazine with fitness models and athletes and, all of those guys, these are events. They will have a photo shoot that comes up and they stay lean enough that they can do this in 4 to 6 weeks, right? But they don't maintain that stretchy skin leanness all the time. I have a lot of friends that are in the bodybuilding industry and hobby, and that's what they do. They're up and down, and that's off season and on season, right? They saw Eddie Hall. Do you know who Eddie Hall is?
I don't.
Eddie Hall holds the world record for deadlift. It's 1,400 pounds.
Wow.
I mean, he is a massive man, but he got down ultra super lean. And I was just watching him the other day, and he was talking about how he put 25 pounds of fat on so that he can gain a bunch of muscle, and then he'll cut again for the next event. And so that's it's an up and down. I don't think most people realize that it's not you get this way and then you sustain it.
No way.
For me, it's proving myself that I have this shirt that says fit at any age. Your body responds to what you do with it. And it's more difficult the older you get for a variety of reasons. I had a 90 2-year-old client when I was personal training, and this would have been back in the early 90s. And he, when we first started, he literally could not sit up from a lying position. And then we worked together for like 4 months, and the dude was like able to do, he was doing squats and deadlifts and could do full sit-ups and all that, but it only took like 4 months. So your body, what people don't realize is that it doesn't matter what age you are, the end result may be different, but the body mechanics, biochemistry will respond in the same way. So yeah, stay fit. So I want to talk about, if you have a few more minutes.
Yeah, I'm good.
Talk about marriage. Like I like watching from the outside, just like hopefully people like watching our relationship. How long have you been married?
Let's see. It's coming on 33 years this November. That's
awesome. Yeah, we're 28 this year. So
yeah.
And that's something that obviously it's super easy. You haven't had to work whatsoever. You've had no challenges at all. Your marriage is perfect.
I have to say, probably one of the proudest things I have in my life is my relationship with my wife. Right.
That's amazing.
We're truly like best friends. I enjoy doing stuff with her, more than anybody. And, I place such a high value on that. We were actually talking about that, yesterday, just her and I, just how thankful we are because, our kids are out of the house now.
Yeah.
And I think about people where their kids leave their house. And
empty nest.
I'm like, for us, we don't really see that big a change because we love being with our kids and it's like life just is going on. But no, my relationship with my wife is so important to me. She's, like I said, she's my best friend. We love working out together. We love doing as much as we can together. She's a great supporter of me. I'm not that easy of a person. I'm easy to get along with, but I'm quirky, right?
Yeah.
And I'm kind of an extremist. When things are great, I'm as high as they can be, and when things aren't so great, I tend to get pissed off because I like things to be great. And so I think that's just kind of like a star athlete, right? When they're on top of the world, it's great. When they're not there, they can be depressed, right? Not that I'm depressed, but it's not that simple. So
right.
So she's a great supporter in the background of me because I do work a lot. P&S has turned into this big job that, it was a big job 10 years ago, but it isn't as the big a job as it is now. Mm-hmm. So, I'm probably working harder now, than I ever have. Maybe not physically, but all the other aspects. Yeah. So I think your significant other is extremely important.
And she keeps you grounded, I assume. Make sure you realize that you're not as smart and cool as you think you are.
Absolutely.
That's what Michelle does for me.
Yeah. Yeah. She, I think she totally unconditionally has my back as I have hers. Right.
Yeah.
And so when she's down, I pick her up. When I'm down, she picks me up. That's the benefit of a good relationship.
I think that's one of the keys that I think most people miss in terms of marriage. Is like, this really is the most important relationship if you intend on sustaining it for the duration. Like,
if you're looking elsewhere for happiness, your marriage is over.
Yeah.
And a lot of people get that way. They've been married for 20 or 30 years and they still have a relationship, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
Now they're just a functioning couple. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that, I think it's actually more important the older you get.
Yeah.
Life's so crazy when you're young. God, you got kids, you're going in 50 million different directions. Hell, sometimes you get done with the year and you look back at the year with your wife and you're like, wow, I'm just glad we survived.
Yeah.
And so, when you get older, it's almost like now's the time to really, have a great relationship.
Yeah. And to keep that building over time, I think one of the things that we've seen, because we've done marital counseling and premarital counseling and crisis counseling and all that, is that and I don't know if you can talk to this, but it seems like so many of these times then you have like the dad, and you're not like this. I can tell already, but like the dad is over here doing his work and doing his companies and all that. And then mom and the kids are kind of this other entity and then what happens is that the dad and mom, they forget that they're the biggest entity and then everything else falls from that. Right. And I think that then the kids leave this people that have such a huge hard time with empty nesters, especially mom. Then we've had women be like, well, I don't even know who I am, but I'm going to go now find myself by leaving my marriage and all this, because they don't really have anything to give. Our kids said recently, I was asking my girls, like, hey, what did you learn about marriage from us growing up? And she said, and both of them agreed. They said, one of the biggest things we learned is that mom is the most important person in this house. And that my relationship with them was secondary to my relationship with her. I used to joke and say, yeah, I'll push you two out of the way to save your mother. I'll make two more look just like you, that old, Bill Cosby joke. But, but I think that I don't know if that's something that you've seen or you agree with, or in terms of making that a very key relationship, because, some guys may be listening to this with little kids and kind of, not feeling adequate about being a dad and then, missing that opportunity to really keep that bond with their spouse.
Yeah, I think it's easy for, husbands to get carved out a little bit too. I mean, when your wife has kids, now her energy is focused on the kids because they take up a lot of time and a lot of energy, and they're a lot of work. And so I think a lot of husbands can feel a little, alienated at that time. So then it's really time to work on the relationship, with your spouse. And, so I think that's really, really important. And then also just to make sure as a father, you're still involved. I would like to say I was the perfect dad. I was definitely not. I'm not the perfect dad by any stretch of the imagination. I've made a lot of mistakes. But the one underlying factor is, I was always committed to my wife and my kids. But, I got stuck working too much and not paying attention. And all of a sudden, one of the things I had, Kevin, I think you have it, is, I can tell when something's not right.
Right.
Right. So I'll go back to my wife. I go, all right, how are we doing? Right. And she would say, not good. I'm like, all right, well, then that's not good. We got to work on
fix it.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was never, I think a lot of people can just be blind to that and then just shut off and just go their direction and not pick up on the fact that things, maybe aren't exactly where you want them to be. And so then you got to work on that.
Yeah.
And my wife and I, we haven't been, perfect in terms of, every day's perfect. But, she definitely calls me out. Probably not as much as she should, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's. She wouldn't have anything else to do. My wife wouldn't. She'd get nothing else done.
And it's funny though, because I always tell my wife this. I go, "You got to tell me when I'm screwing." She goes, "It's not my job to be your mom." And I'm like, noted, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've done counseling multiple times just as tune-ups, and when we've kind of face crises and that kind of thing. I think as men, one of the things being like, men want that success and they want to feel like that they're doing a good job. And I think with kids, especially, at least in my case, like this little baby thing, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing on this. And I know that we don't have the estrogen and progesterone and those things to kind of drive that instinct. So it takes a lot more work. But I also think that that's important for the moms to understand that dad's job is to, as long as the kids are alive when you get back, he's probably doing a pretty good job. He may not be doing everything exactly right or the way that you would want to, but I think dads kind of use an excuse to check out, to say, well, mom does it better. The kids are better off with her as the main caretaker. I'm just going to go, do my fantasy football league or whatever, something.
But, dads have a role. It's just a different relationship with your kids, right?
Yeah.
I always look back and I'm sure have many family stories where, you would do a silly thing like we'd go cut down the Christmas tree or we go do all this stuff. And you're like, my kids are so old, they don't want to do that anymore. They're like, Dad, are you kidding? We're coming home to cut down the Christmas tree. I'm like, what? Yeah. I didn't think you guys liked that. And so stuff like that, those traditions, one of my favorite things with my dad was we would go to about once a year, maybe twice a year, we would go to the local, the 49er game. And my dad had a little Honda 55 motorcycle and he put it on the back rack of the station wagon and we drive kind of close to the stadium And then because traffic was bad and parking was expensive, right?
Yeah.
My dad would take the little motorcycle off. My brother would get on the back. I'd sit in the front of my dad, and we'd ride to the stadium to watch the game. And my dad, that was like, those are the things you remember.
Oh, yeah.
So as a dad, when you do those kinds of things with your kids, so a dad has a different, you have a different role.
Yeah.
So, I think dads tend to think that their kids they value mom so much, they don't value the other stuff. And I think as you get older in life, you look back, you talk to your kids, and you get back to it like, God, Dad, that was so great.
Yeah.
And as dads, we thought it was silly.
Yeah. Or we just don't think we're adequate or whatever that happens to be.
Right.
So then you withdraw. It's like, dads, talk to your wife about it, just to forewarn her, but don't skip some of that stuff.
Don't. Definitely.
Now you probably your dad be arrested for not having your but
oh, hell yeah, dude.
Which is stupid because that's one of the best, like that story is so awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But build those memories with your kids in spite of your own fears and, inadequacies and anxieties and all.
I guess the thing is don't underestimate those moments that you do. And I would commonly do that. I would think like my kids, they don't care about this.
Yeah. It's just not
even just a walk at night with the dog that you did on Friday nights. Remember what we used to do, Dad? You're like, really?
Yeah. I don't remember that. Yeah. Yeah, those memories are crazy. I think that's great advice. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time. I've had you over an hour. Like I said, I think that one of my goals is to have men that inspire men to be better men. That's that's it.
It's funny. I saw the thing, but maxed out. I'm like, oh my God. Right?
Yeah. No, maxed out just means in terms of your potential, right? We all have different levels of potential. We all have different ways that we go about it. But the reason I came up with that, the reason I called it that is because let's maximize the potential that you've been given and whatever your state, whatever's going on. And then, go from that, work with what you have is what I always kind of lean towards. So,
well, it's been a great conversation. Kev, I can always call you and talk to you for an hour on the phone. Yeah, that's sure. that's, because we've done that over the years. So, when I was joking, like, how can I not be on, right? You're like, dude, you're on my list. I'm like, all right, let's do it, right? Because I just, it wasn't an ego thing. Please, it wasn't an ego thing. Like I had to be on because I that's not me. I hope people know that. Yeah. But, I just thought it was so cool what you're doing. So thanks for including me.
I appreciate that. And I think that, like I said, I want this to be just two guys sitting around having a conversation and just happen to be recording it. So hopefully this will inspire the men to kind of get out there and buy a boat. I always say you're like the perfect friend because I don't ever want to own a horse and I don't want to own another boat, but I want friends that have horses and have boats. Yeah. So like you're the perfect friends. All you're missing is a pickup with a trailer so you can help me move. But
exactly. Yeah.
But that's it. All right, Bob. Well, thanks a lot so much. I appreciate you.
If you're looking to really maximize your life and become the man you were made to be, head over to maxedoutman.com and get your journey started today.